when you are writing your grant, in terms of sustainability or post-funding, how best is my business going to survive after funding? First of all, accessing a grant that you have identified perhaps on the internet or someone has recommended to you, you need to be able to check who are the sponsors behind it and what are their mission and vision. There are certain people, when they are applying for grants, you can't even tell the kind of SDG they are focusing on. Some people actually, they will tell you they are focused on quality education, but before you go deep into it, they are doing agric.
Hi people, welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneur Spotlight. If you've missed our previous episodes, please do well to check them out. We have amazing content for you. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and share all our content. Today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting, something that is very dear to the heart of every entrepreneur, and that is beyond the pitch, winning grants like a pro. And joining us today is the Chief Executive Officer of Kekeli Global Innovations, and also a startup ecosystem builder and a German exit fund consultant. He's in the person of Mr. Kekeli Yaw Dorkenoo. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Yaw.
Thank you, Sika, for having me at this hot weather condition, especially in the entrepreneurship space these days. Yes.
You think it's hot at this point?
Yeah. That youth are saying, "Baby, I as we are hearing."
I can imagine.
Yes.
But let's talk about your company. What do you do?
Okay, so basically, Kekeli Global Innovations helps you to turn your idea into a business.
Okay.
That is basically we do, and it just doesn't end there. We also help you to be able to ensure that your business gets enough funding, grants, and so on and so forth to become successful. Yes, that is basically what we've been doing so far in Africa.
I see. That's a fantastic, idea. And let's talk about access to grants.
Yeah.
When a lot of young people hear the word grants, most people are like, hey, is it a loan? What is really a grant? Can we talk about that, please?
Yes, indeed. So there have been a lot of definitions when it comes to grants. Okay, so for the benefit of our viewers and audience, as we were all growing up, a lot of people wanted scholarships to study abroad and so on and so forth. A scholarship is a form of a grant.
Okay.
So in simple terms, a grant is an amount of money given to a person or a business to achieve a particular purpose. Now, it is a little bit different from donations. With donations, the money is just given to you with no proper checks whatsoever. But grants are quite different.
Okay.
Just like the way when you apply for your scholarships to go abroad, they tell you come back to your home country and do a lot. Grants are given to businesses for them to scale up and make societal impact or achieve certain SDGs. And at the end of the day, the sponsors or the funding bodies can see some of the good things that you are doing for society.
Okay.
That is
so how different is it from a loan?
Yes, thank you very much for that again. So indeed, a grant is different from a loan. So where they differ is, number one, with grants, if you are listening to us at this moment and you have an idea, a business whatsoever, you've been wondering how to bring it into a reality. Maybe your mom has an SME that has been in existence for so many years and you want to scale up, but you don't want anyone to own shares of that business. A grant is a form of money given to you that the people giving it to you or the sponsors do not take shares or equity in your business. But when it comes to a loan, and before I even go to a loan, one other thing about grants is with respect to grants, you do not pay back the money. It's free of charge.
It's free?
Yes, it's free.
I see.
Yes, so if you are listening to us at this moment, you can get grants for your idea, business whatsoever, and it is free of charge. You don't have to pay back the money. The difference comes when it's, you take a loan. Now, with respect to loans, you are supposed to pay back the money and also pay with some form of interest. Yes. That is some of the key differences when it comes to grants and loans. And another thing that we've always ruled out when we are considering this is what we call equity funding. So a grant is also different from an equity funding or an investment. So when it comes to equity, what happens is you go for money from somebody or an investor or a business, and in exchange, they own certain portions of your business.
Wow.
Yes, that is some of the key differences that we need to learn when it comes to grants, equity, and loans.
I think now we are very clear on it. Now let's highlight the part you mentioned, it is free.
Yes.
Because somebody is so excited by just hearing that statement say it is free.
Yes.
How do they get access to grants in this country, Ghana? how did they get access to them?
Indeed. You'll be amazed that Ghana has been one of the biggest beneficiaries when it comes to grants. Nigerians have been blacklisted all over the place. And a lot of people who are into this space can tell you this. So it's very simple. When it comes to grants and its access, you need to understand first of all that when you look at the global north, what do we see? Microsoft, the owner started in a garage. Apple, the owner started in a garage. LinkedIn, Elon Musk, and the top likes, all of them started in a garage. When it comes to Ghana precisely, what do we hear? I washed 5,000 plates. I started selling cassettes. I did barbering. I did all sorts of things. Not to make fun of them. What these people are telling you is, at that time, there was no funding for them. Access to funding was difficult. So they had to do certain complex jobs to be able to get what? Funding. Now we have what we call grants, where the global north and various stakeholders abroad are saying that we are going to give you this money on condition that you help to achieve these stated SDGs end goals. So the first point in accessing a grant is to first of all understand the end goal of whoever is giving it to you. Indeed, it is free, but grants are not being given to you for you to spend it on yourself. No. Now, when it comes to a typical Ghanaian, when people are applying for grants, what do we hear? Mine will achieve quality education. Mine will achieve good health. Mine will achieve climate change. Grants are competitive. Now, in Ibiaba in Tree, as we say it, due to technology and social media, a lot of people hear of grant opportunities quickly. So you have a lot of people applying for grants. Therefore, for you to access it, you need to differ. How do you differ? First of all, accessing a grant that you have identified perhaps on the internet or someone has recommended to you, you need to be able to check who are the sponsors behind it and what are their mission and vision. You need to ensure that whatever you are going to use the grant for aligns with what they want, be it for your business or a non-profit project. Diving deeper, we have what we call nationally determined contributions, which is something people don't even pay attention to. So these days, you see, what do we see? We see the government say, if you go into agriculture, they give you tax holidays. If you go into this, we give you freebies and so on and so forth. These are things that are happening. But when it comes to grant, where you can access it easily as a Ghanaian is what I have been preaching these days, the ESG. Environment, social, and governance. Because ESG is achieved by a business or a person. How then does it help you to access the grant? We have 1,000 people applying for a grant and they say, mine is going to champion good agriculture. You've not said anything. It's going to ensure food security. Yes, that's an SDG, but you've still not said anything. It aligns with what the government of Ghana is doing. Yes, it's a little bit different, but you've still not said anything. So where you would differ in terms of access will be your ESG. How does it work? How well is my business or project that I'm seeking this grant for going to help protect the environment or champion climate change? If it is agriculture, are you going to chip in a little bit climate smart agriculture? When it comes to the S, which is the social, we are looking at, okay, how is it going to impact society? We always hear people say it is going to help create jobs for 1,000 farmers. When you say that, you've not said anything. 1,000 farmers in a particular marginalized community would make your grants.
So being specific even matters.
Yes, being specific when it comes to your grants matters, especially when it comes to ESG. Then G, governance. So indeed, you can have a very great idea, a great business, but there are barriers of entry. How well are you putting in measures to ensure that whatever you are going to use the grant for falls in compliance with the country or state that you find yourself in? So when you come to Ghana, there are various things that the government has frowned upon. So when you are applying for a grant, you don't end up mentioning things that clearly you know the grant will not be eligible for in your home country. Post the grant funding you've also gotten, how well is your idea or your business going to help formulate policies in the home country? This is something people don't look at.
Wow.
Yes. And it has always affected your access to grants in Ghana.
Then I'm sure that's one of the reasons why among the many applications we have for grants, people miss out on it, because you realize that, like you mentioned, their businesses are not tailored to solving some of these issues. The ESG you mentioned, environmental, social, and then the governance and all of that. So they just think, I need to just write and then I'm getting a grant because it's free.
Yes.
You know, so they are not really paying attention. And I think with what you said, it's really, really informative. So that means that moving forward, if someone is starting a business and then they are hoping to get a grant in future, they must see how their business solves a particular, you know, problem that aligns with the SDG goals. That's what you're saying.
Yes, indeed. You first of all need to make sure, as you are listening to us right now, your business must solve at least one of the SDGs.
Okay.
All businesses, one way or the other, align with one of the SDGs. After that, you have to try and integrate ESG concepts. A little bit, your business must have a little bit environment protection inside, social impact there, governance, compliance, and so on and so forth. So someone listening to us at this moment will be like, okay, I'm a liquid soap producer, or I'm a plantain chip seller.
Yes.
Well, how is this going to affect me? ESG, dear family, as the local will say it. As a plantain chip seller, if you want to get a grant, you can tell them that when they give you the grant, you will make sure you use eco-friendly fuels for all your plantain chips production. Meaning you are not going to use charcoal. If they give you the grant, you are going to use proper and eco-friendly fuels.
But must you provide evidence to that?
That is the benefit of grants. Sometimes you do not need to provide evidence.
Oh,
yes.
I see.
Yes. So every grant and its requirement. Some grants will require a proof of concept. Some are willing to give out to the idea stage. For example, the Fidelity Agri-Tech Challenge, it gives grants for ideas only. Some, like Cosmos Innovation Center, equally give funding to ideas. But when you go deeper into organizations such as Orange Corners, Star Africa Germany, Ashesi, GCIC, they tend to give to proofing concepts, meaning they will come and do due diligence before giving you your grant.
Wow. So somebody's wondering, where is the money? Where is the money? With what you said that grants are always, you know, available in the country, where is the money?
Yes. So Sikane Diawaho, as they always say in local. So for our viewers once again,
yes,
grants are always available 24/7.
And how can they access them?
How you can access it. You can't access what you don't know, first of all.
Okay.
Good. So first of all, you need to understand that grants actually come from foundations and not necessarily NGOs. NGOs serve as a betweener between founding bodies and the actual grassroots. Okay. So you can access grants first of all looking at the embassies in Ghana. Almost each and every embassy in Ghana have grants readily available for you, but they don't really publicize it on their
Why is that so? Because if they don't publicize it, how will people get to know that? Okay.
Yes.
Or they feel they should be able to know on their own.
Yes, indeed. You should be able to know.
Okay.
And indeed, whilst you are climbing up the ladder in grant acquisition, you should know certain things. Each and every embassy in Ghana have a grant available, focused on specific thematic areas. Regardless of this, when you go on social media platforms like LinkedIn, we have so many grants being advertised on various opportunity platforms. I've mentioned a few already, but we still have more that are actually coded. Now, notwithstanding that, talk about access. If you are listening to us at this moment, perhaps you found yourself in a situation where you applied for a grant online. 6 months later, you were told, sorry, your application was good, but we chose to give it to someone else. You'll be depressed, right? Good. You may also find yourself going to sponsorship from a bank. For those of listeners who are into the non-profit space, they may apply for funding in January, go up and down, do all sorts of necessary compliance. 6 months down the line, the banks leave them on the way. Or you are listening to us, you may have found yourself in a situation where people will tell you, oh, don't worry, this is your project, I'll donate this, I'll donate that, I'll give you this grant. But when the time comes, they back out. You found yourself in that situation. Yes, indeed, that borders on what we call the access. The access topic. So grants itself, there are two ways of accessing them. We have that they have been advertised where you can apply. That means there is a call for applications. Then we have what we call the cold calling, which is something people don't know about. So when we say cold calling, it's simply you realizing that, okay, these organizations in Ghana or abroad have their mission and vision aligning with what I do. So let me prepare a proposal, get some of the funding myself, take it to them and help them to give me a grant. So we've always limited ourselves to the call for proposals where they call for applications and then a lot of people rush for it. No, we also have cold calling where you can cold call for a grant. There are so many channels. Ghana Enterprise Agency too is there. The NEIP is doing so well. And organizations such as Done by Us is equally doing well, such as KGL Foundation.
Of course. Okay, so I'm very excited you've been able to talk about how we can access the grants. I've heard people say that sometimes when you're applying for grants, the forms you fill and all of that, they can be honestly very exhausting. It feels like you're writing essays and all of that. How do we navigate that, you know?
Indeed. Okay, so I've always tried my best to, when I'm talking about grants, to bring it down to the person by the roadside or the layman, as they always say.
Yeah.
So acquiring grants or writing a grant is just like a JHS student who is going to write BEC. They come out and they say, matro, me bubu pipano, maseho, only for the result to come and bubu. So in grants, indeed, writing a grant is not just a matter of giving it to ChatGPT to prepare it for you. That's what these days people are doing.
Yeah.
And indeed, the documents are bulky because the money involved is also quite big. So yes, how well do I navigate grant writing? Number one, for me, I always say, if you can pay the price for, or if you can pay for the comfort, pay for it. What do I mean? You can sometimes recruit grant writers.
Okay.
Pay them for their services. The organizations such as yourself, Done by Us, people can pay them to help write their grants. But if you want to indeed write your grants yourself, the key thing I need you as listening to me right now is to, first of all, select the right sustainable development goals. Sometimes what you are doing as a non-profit or a for-profit business may align with more than one sustainable development goal. Okay? Try your best to pick the dominant one. So there are certain people, when they are applying for grants, you can't even tell the kind of SDG they are focusing on. Some people actually, they will tell you they are focused on quality education, but before you go deep into it, they are doing agric. Some will tell you quality education, you go deeper, actually they are doing good health and things. The step one is select your SDG properly. After you've selected your SDG properly, integrate the ESG concept, like I said. So instead of writing essays, what is going to happen is, in terms of objectives of this proposal you are submitting or this idea you are submitting, you will be able to give quantitative data. So maybe it's going to help recycle maybe 1,000 tons, create 500 jobs for deprived farmers in maybe Bayrebon community. In terms of governance, we are going to hope that in a few years to time, we are going to partner the government to be able to achieve stated goals. So in grant writing, you don't need to write too much. You just need to hit the nail on the head. Thanks for correcting me that. So that is how you navigate the write-up, so that you don't write essays. Select the right SDG, chip in your ESG concept, ensure your objectives are clear. And another thing where people tend to make errors in their grant writing is defining their problem. Good. So these days we've had the climate change topic. We've had the agriculture topic, food security, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you are trying to solve a problem that is already solved, or sometimes your solution does not mirror your problem. What do I mean by that? When you are applying for a grant or an opportunity that will give you funding, defining your problem is crucial. How well do you define the problem? Let us know the context in which the problem occurs. Who are the key people actually affected by these problems? After you've been able to highlight the key people affected by this problem, it becomes prudent to highlight the alternative. You'll be amazed that sometimes people apply for grants as if they are the only people coming up with this idea for the first time. No, it will be prudent to highlight the alternatives that are in existence and the shortcomings of them. So for example, let me use agric, since these days a lot of people are going into it. You may be solving a problem of post-harvest losses for farmers in the northern region, okay? Yes, a lot of people are applying with this. That is the problem. But when you go deep into it to establish the root cause, you realize that, okay, maybe the issue is with funding. How best, or what are the alternatives these farmers have been looking out for? Have they been doing this susu where every week one person takes their money? I'm sure you are familiar with this. These days, that's what people are doing. In Cameroon, they call it in Jangi. That is what people are doing these days. So if that is a problem, identify some of the shortcomings of that alternative they're already using, then you can build a solution that mirrors it. That way, you prevent yourself from writing an essay that everybody will write. Just like the way we're all growing up. When we're writing our manifestos and presentations, we say Mr. Chairman, panel of... So every grant, we know when we are reviewing it, we see these things. Problem. People in the northern region are having post-harvest losses. We know that already. 10,000 tons go to waste. We know that already. Let us know the root cause, the shortcomings of the alternatives.
Okay.
That will make you make a proper grant that is not full of chaff. Objectives. Highlight objectives that have quantitative data or forecast attached to it. The next thing is sustainability, or what we sometimes call monitoring and evaluation, which is something a lot of people have ruled out.
Yeah.
When you are writing your grant, in terms of sustainability or post-funding, how best is my business going to survive after funding? Or if you are into the non-profit space, how best are you going to come up with more funding for your project that or NGO that you are doing? So in your grant writing to post-funding, or when you get to the monitoring and evaluation side, you need to take that into consideration. Okay, it can be posting on social media, visiting these communities again to check what they are doing. If you are a for-profit business, monitoring and evaluation, okay, what is my impact measurement? We have businesses that sometimes, yes, you give them funding, they do so well, but you can't even tell. If you ask them, what is your impact, what is the result, they don't even keep financial records, and so on and so forth. So in summary, if you want to write a grant and not just some essay that will be dashed out, you always have to try your best. Give us the root cause of your problem in terms of objectives, integrate the ESGs and quantitative data, ensure that you highlight on the sustainability where you talk about post-funding, what is going to happen to your business, what are your goals after the next 5 years. If you're a non-profit, how are you going to generate more revenue for your non-profit projects?
This is so insightful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about quantitative data.
Yes.
Now let's talk about businesses that provide services. That for some reason they don't really have quantitative data.
Yes.
So we have a lot of NGOs who like to empower young women, who like to support children. For those ones that they may not be able to quantify it, how do they still, get access to these grants?
Okay, so it is going to be a hurdle, but indeed, every problem that exists, there is definitely a solution.
Yeah.
Okay, so you first of all need to understand why this is even a barrier. I'm sure most of our listeners have been wondering. We keep hearing 5,000 young people impacted, 2,000 young people impacted, 5,000 jobs created, 10,000 jobs created. Yet we keep seeing the youth complain about jobs. This is why when you're applying for grants, they want to see some of these quantitative data and
to be sure that the impact is really
made. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And actually, the impact is being made, but it's not properly being tracked. So if you are an NGO, you have to try. You can use simple tools like Google Forms. Okay, keep the data of all your beneficiaries, webinars. When you went to do your community engagement, they may not know how to use Google Forms. At least keep record. Do videos of how they benefited from your program. All these simple measures are things that will go a long way to favor you. So yes, if you're an NGO listening to us at this moment, whether you have the statistics or not, you need to be able to create some right now. I'm not saying forge, but go back to who you've impacted and gather this data. If you are finding it difficult, there are opportunities with Africa Impact Investing, which I'm also a beneficiary of, the ScaleX program, where we've been able to put in measures to help non-profits to track their impact and so on and so forth. So it is something that you can't do away with if you really want to get your grants. Every funding body wants to see what you've done in the past and the journey so far for some of the beneficiaries.
I see. Yes. So
Yes.
then it means what makes a business grant worthy is it's been able to solve at least one SDG problem.
Indeed.
SDG goal, sorry.
Yes.
And also you having to chip in the ESG,
ESG
the
concept,
environmental, social, and then the
Governance.
Governance, yes. So I think that people watching you now, some of them are wondering, oh, okay, that's why I was rejected.
Yes.
That's why this didn't go well, because they now reassess their own businesses and they realize that it didn't really solve any of
Yes.
the, but from where you sit, when you reach out to people who, let's say, lost grants, you get feedback from them to hear what they have to say about it. Maybe they feel that they wrote what they feel could have been accepted,
Yes.
and then they didn't accept my, they didn't give me the grant. How are some of the feedbacks like?
Okay, so some of the feedback is that you must know somebody at the back door, and when it comes to grants, you must know someone. You need to settle someone. You need to greet someone's palm, and so on and so forth. This is not true.
Really?
Oh yes, it's not true.
And none of this actually works. At least you know somebody, you can tip the person small, and then you just select your grants, even though it's not meeting the requirements. It doesn't work.
Not at all. It's not true. Why it is not true is whoever you are going to even grease their hands, it's not the one giving you the money. Even if they give you the money, we have what we call due diligence. We have compliance. So the funding bodies will check all these things at a later date. So it is not true. And even if you know somebody somewhere and the person pushes you up, you can't do away with some of these required documents. So for example, when I speak to some people who have not gotten their grants funding, or maybe they've participated in pitches and opportunities and they were rejected, check them. Some of them, business registration, they don't have it. Even if they are registered, the description of the business is different from what they claim that they actually do. Some of these people too have been in a situation where they have zero audited accounts, no financial records, no proper bookkeeping. Some people too in the past might have been participating in accelerators or winning certain grants, and to date we've not seen the impact. So clearly they've been blacklisted, but deep in them they don't know. So you hear some of these things, and I don't have good luck, I don't know anybody, and in Ghana connections matters.
Exactly.
It's not true.
That's what a lot of people think. It
is not true.
Know somebody and then you are good to go.
No. It is never true.
It doesn't work with grants.
When it comes to grants, it doesn't work because at a later date there is going to be due diligence. So it is not true. So if you are listening to us at this moment and your grant has been rejected, you've applied for a fellowship abroad and you've been bounced, because most fellowships come with grants and so on and so forth. You were never rejected because you don't know someone. One, sometimes your non-profit or your business have to be registered. Sometimes you have to have audited accounts. Sometimes even if you have an idea, it will be nice to have a prototype or a proof of concept. We have people with nice ideas, but when you submit it and you don't have a prototype, it's difficult. We also have people who are actually having prototypes and doing the work, but their social media, zero.
So for those who have been rejected, because of their inability to reach the certain requirements that is needed, and then they want to still reapply, but then they feel reluctant or they're just discouraged, what would you say to them?
Okay, so first of all, exhaustion is normal. Okay, grant exhaustion is normal. It is never going to be easy. I would urge anybody who has had their grants refused before, whether you're a for-profit or a non-profit, is to first of all never give up. But never give up does not mean that you should constantly be following grants all the time. If you are going to apply for grants now, take the tidbits that we just gave during the session, ESG and SDGs, okay? Restructure your business. If you're a non-profit, restructure your impact assessment, sustainability, and so on and so forth. But there are various funding avenues that you can explore apart from grants, okay? We have equity funding. You cannot be in business for over 5 years and constantly and still be searching for grants each and every time. Grants are good for you to scale up and make impact, no two ways. But maybe it is time for you to consider equity funding, where you can bring in shareholders and use that money that you are raising from equity to fund your operational expenses. If you are listening to us at this moment, you can also find yourself in a situation where you've gone past the idea stage and you've even gone past the growth stage and you are trying to get to the expansion stage. There are various funding avenues apart from grants. I've mentioned equity. You can go for loans. Loans are very good because with loans, you can take loans to acquire assets for the business. So for example, maybe you are an SME or an innovation company and you need a large amount of money to be able to acquire certain machineries for your business. Go for the loan, acquire it, and you'll be paying back these loans that you've taken. So my advice to anybody who have had their grants rejected in the past is very simple. Go back to the drawing table. Restructure your business or NGO according to the SDGs. Consider integrating ESG concepts in whatever you do. If you're a non-profit, consider putting in proper impact measurement or assessment tools. When you're applying for grants, cross-check the funding bodies behind them, their mission, vision, and take into consideration. If you keep pushing, maybe it is time for you to consider other funding avenues like loans, equity funding, and so on and so forth. Because with equity, you can fund the operational cost easily. With loans, you can fund some machine and asset acquisition cost, which will go in a long way to help you establish yourself properly. That is my advice to you. Don't give up. It's never the end of the road.
It's never the end of the road.
Yes.
So before we go on, we just want to appreciate Turmeric Hotel for giving us this wonderful place for our recording. We want to let you know that they have the best place to be. If you're looking for a place to unwind or rest for the weekend, Turmeric Hotel is the best place to be at. And also to our lovely partners, KGL Foundation, thank you so much for supporting what we do. So for those who have won the grants, because of course they were able to meet the requirements, hearing from them, of course they'll be very excited. And looking at, would you say that you've had most winners than like those who didn't get, like measuring the two of them, you've had more people get the grants than those who lost them?
Yes, we've had.
It
more.
outweighs the
Yes,
those who have been rejected.
Yes.
Okay.
When it comes to my company,
Yeah.
yes, it outweighs those who have won outweighs those who actually lost. But in the public domain, considering the entire country, we have more people getting rejected
than those who win.
Winning.
Yeah, and you think those who win actually meet the requirements, so they are able to identify the SDG goals, their businesses solve, they meet the goals, and also incorporate the ESG.
Yes.
And they are able to get the grants.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, then they do it so well.
Yes, and you will notice that you keep is something in the public domain. So you realize you keep seeing the same faces winning the grants over and over again, and you keep wondering, why are they always taking the grants and things? It's because they are applying some of these things that we are talking about. And another misconception I want our listeners to avoid is this: sometimes when applying for grants, we seem to appear too needy.
Okay.
We make it look like without this grant,
it's a do or die.
We can't survive. No, funding bodies actually sometimes prefer people who have even won grants in the past, or who have at least raised some amount of money, and they are just looking for another amount to balance it. So grants for business is not like your scholarship where you need to be mentioning guns flying in your communities for them to give it. When it comes to entrepreneurship, every granting body wants to see an NGO or a business that when you give them money, they are already somewhere and they are good to go.
They are good to go. They are good to go. Wow, fantastic. So our last question before we go, I want to know if there's a time frame, for receiving these grants. You mentioned that some people have received grants in the past and then they keep winning over time. Is it that you can just wake up and once you're able to meet all the requirements, you can get a grant anytime, any day, how you like it? Or maybe we are only supporting you 3 times in your business, the whole time of doing business, just 3 times you can get the grants. Is there a structure to it?
Okay, so when it comes to grants, the funding bodies determine that. When it comes to organizations such as MasterCard, they give restrictions that you must have not received any form of funding or grants from MasterCard in the past.
Okay.
So we have other organizations such as GIZ practicing the same thing so that a lot of people can get it. But to touch on the time frame, indeed, there is time frame. So if you are waiting for the call for proposals, mostly call for proposals tend to come around January. And sometimes in the month of April, basically on quarter basis. So those of you who want to wait for call for applicants for fellowships, because most fellowships come with grants too, or call for applicants to apply for the funding, then with you have timelines to beat. So it means when immediately they announce it, you have to have your proposal and everything and concept ready for submission. After you submit, usually averagely most grants take at least 3 months for screening to take place. Even if you've been selected and you go for your interview, there will be due diligence. So averagely you are looking at even 6 months. For those of you in the non-profit who want to be doing what we call the cold calling for funding or for grants, for you it is always advisable to submit your documents very early. Sometimes as early as January. If you know you have a project that you need a grant for, maybe in August or something, you have to submit in January. Sometimes you have to even submit the previous years. Yes, but you can bypass some of these timelines. Like I said, if one, your documents are intact, your papers are very good. It reduces the back and forth.
Yeah.
And also, if you've won funding or grants in the past before, it is good to go. But indeed, this question is very good. So if you are listening to us and you want to be applying for grants, the focus is on grants. Don't think you apply for a grant today and tomorrow, even if they announce you've won it or selected, the money will hit your company account or will be given to you the next day. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
They will do due diligence. So if you lie in your applications, it will show. That is some of the things that when it comes to timeline, I urge people to look out for.
Wow. I'm sure everyone watching you is really encouraged, whether they've applied for grants or not. At least they have some knowledge on it, on how to go about it. There are people who have applied, and because they didn't know all of these, they were rejected several times, and they've been discouraged. But I'm sure with whatever you said now, they've been really uplifted. Any last words for the audience, please?
Okay, so to our listeners out there, I want you to know that the Ghanaian entrepreneurship market is widening. More funding is being allocated for the Ghanaian entrepreneurship space, especially for those of you who are young, or should I say 35 and below. I urge each and everybody listening to us at this moment to take advantage of the grant industry. Come up with nice ideas, align it with the right SDG, integrate ESG concepts. And if you are sitting down for someone to come and give you the money, you would always find yourself wanting. Start now.
Yeah.
If you find it difficult to start now, try to participate in accelerators, incubators, or patronize professional grant writers to help you, because there's no point in submitting a proposal in January only to be rejected in August. The anxiety and the depression would be high. Let's make impact. Your focus when it comes to grants should not be on you as an individual, but should be on impacting society, be it in terms of the environment, the location, geographical location, or the marginalized groups, and the government at large in terms of policy formation. That will be my final words for anybody listening to us.
Thank you so much, Kekeli. It's been really, really insightful. So, like Kekeli said, if you are wondering where to find grants in your country, Ghana, you can always look out to any embassy, or even on LinkedIn. They are all over and you can have access to them. And just make sure that you are able to select one SDG goal that your business is addressing or solving, and tripping the ESG. That is the environment, social, and governance issues that your business address. And also be aware of all the requirements that you need to meet in order to get the grant. And if you've applied for a grant and then you failed or you were rejected, please do not give up. Rise up again and make sure you're able to meet all the requirements. And this time, you may be very lucky. Thank you so much for joining us. See you in the next episode. Bye.